And help me welcome back to the stage Thora Birch.
Thank you.
And it's
Zweighoff, do you want to come out here?
it's our tradition to give a golden thumb.
I get the
This
thumb.
is Roger's thumb. You get the golden thumb.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, it's heavy.
It is.
Okay, nice. It's got my name on it and everything. Woo! Okay. All right, my life is complete now.
And we're going to take it back from you.
Okay,
and then-
absolutely. Yeah, I don't want to. Oh, there you go.
sit.
That sounds good. Could get a little awkward up here.
And we're going to bring out Terry Zweighoff, the director. And I'd like to invite you two to have a seat over here, and we're going to have Matt Fagerholm, the literary editor at RogerEbert.com, come out as the moderator. Matt Fagerholm.
Thank you.
Do you all have microphones? Okay.
I think we do.
Take it away.
Thank you. This is a dream come true, being on the stage with both of you. This is a favorite film of mine and my fiance, who I'm marrying in a couple months, as a matter of fact.
Congratulations.
And the best man, longtime friend of mine that's going to be at the wedding, was basically the Enid to my Rebecca growing up in junior high, high school. In some ways, the running commentary you'd have, the ironic detachment, the sort of armor you have at that age to sort of make yourself feel a little more comfortable. I know there's lines in this film and also in the graphic novel by Daniel Closer just right out of my mouth, and I don't think anyone's captured that period in life of, you know, the period that they were in and then the growing out of that better than you did in this movie. Both of you portrayed in this film. I think it's beautiful. But I suppose the first general thing would be, what was what initially attracted both of you to this, and particularly to working together, to collaborating on this?
Well, first of all, I'd just like to start off by thanking everybody for coming out tonight. It's great to be here. It's great to be here at this particular festival, because I remember when we read the Roger Ebert review of Ghost World, at least my own reaction was like, okay, well, you know, we're good. We're in the clear.
Yeah.
So to be here now, all this time later, is great. But to answer your question, when I first read the script, it was sent to me along with Dan Clowes's graphic novel. So I read the novel first, and then I read the script, and just my immediate reaction was like, I'm already her. I'm not going to even be acting in this at all. Like, I just need to say these lines. I think I probably have already said some of this crap before. Not crap, but you know what I mean. And so that was just, I just became fixated on the character of Enid, and also the relationship between Enid and Rebecca, and the way that it just kind of fractured and fell apart so slowly and delicately and without much reason, really. And I thought that was very accurate and true to life for friendships amongst young women that age. So that was that. And then I had a meeting/reading with Terry and Dan, and meeting Terry and Dan was like just so hilarious, but in the best possible way. I was like, why doesn't he just play Seymour? I'm sure he could do it.
Yeah, that would have worked really good.
And it was, he just, like, they embodied the spirit of the script in an odd way, you know, giving that they were these older dudes and we were these younger gals and all of that. But they just had the personality, and for some reason, every time Terry talks, I just crack up. Like, everything he says is just funny to me. So, so I knew, like, we would have a good...
Can I monetize this in some way from you?
So I just knew that I would have a great time working with him on set if he would give me the frickin' job. And I'll let him tell you about that. But anyway, so that was what made me want to do it. I love the character, and then I love these guys, and Terry in particular too.
The way it came to me was my wife was trying to get me to work, so I could make some money, and she said, "There's this really great comic strip, Ghost World." I said, "Yeah, I know Dan Clowes. I love all his stuff." How would that make a movie? There's no plot to it. Characters are good, the good dialogue's good, but come on. And she said, "No, just read it again. He lives in Berkeley. Just go meet the guy." So I called Robert Crumb, who I know had met Dan. I didn't know if they were friends, but I called him. And I said, "So what can you tell me about Dan Clowes?" And he said, "He's this really tall, handsome, pretty boy." He said, he was jealous. It was just not at all like how I see Dan, but he is tall. I'll give him that. So I went to meet him under some ruse that I dreamt up, and we just sort of hit it off and cracked each other up and decided to do something together. He wasn't sure Ghost World would work either, but we thought, maybe we'll write something original or maybe some other comic. And we just started talking about it. But it was really my wife's idea. Is she here? She went for a walk. I don't know. Are you here? If so, stand up and I'll embarrass you. Yeah, she went for a long walk. That's her moment of glory.
She's heard this before.
It was important to me to hunt down the footage you saw right before this of the Siskel and Ebert review of Crumb, which is also a masterpiece. If you love films, you should see it, but especially if you love Ghost World, you should see it as well, because there are times watching them back to back, the way that Steve Buscemi's talking about just feeling almost assaulted by the voice on the radio. It's just like stabbing his ears. There's a moment where Crumb's talking about the music that he's hearing on the sidewalk, and it's just almost violence to him. And Sophie Crumb, his daughter, has a credit in this. Can you talk a bit about her involvement?
Well, she had to do the drawings in the sketchbook, in Enid's sketchbook. I asked Dan to do it, and he said, "I can't draw like a girl." I'm sorry, like a woman. And I'm just quoting him, don't blame me. And so I called Crumb again and said, "Can Sophie do a drawing of Steve Buscemi and Don Knotts?" And he said, "Yeah, I guess. Are you paying her?" I said, "Yeah, we'll pay her something." And so she did these great drawings and, would send them to us, and we paste them in the book, and you pretend to be touching them up. And
I did one for the film, but it's horrible, and you could probably
one with a
pinpoint.
knife in the back?
No, not that. Yeah, right. I think you did that, didn't you?
No.
No.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
I want to test this guy's
Oh boy.
film criticism knowledge.
Oh boy.
Do you know who played Seymour's mother in the film?
Oh dear, that's the voice, the name is escaping me at the moment. I love the therapist in this. Does anyone
Diane
recognize the
Salinger.
therapist?
Yeah, she was great.
She's wonderful. Yeah.
Anna Berger played his mother. Do you know what film she was in?
Anna Berger. Oh my gosh. I'm
That's
gonna
all
be
right.
failing.
She was in the take. You're out.
Taking Pelham 1, 2, 3.
And
There we go.
And
There
she
we
had a big scene in Crimes and Misdemeanors, where
Yes.
she's the main anchor at the Passover ceremony.
That's right.
Really terrific actress. And I used her again in Art School Confidential, but I loved her.
Yeah, you found wonderful people for even the smallest. Ileana Douglas got such a reaction from the crowd, and the Father Mayor even got some applause from some people appreciating that. Can you talk a bit about her, sort of the casting of her? And you did a wonderful podcast with her not long ago.
Yeah, she's great. She blew me away.
She wouldn't read either. This one wouldn't read. She just done American Beauty and was a big movie star, so she won't read. So I got to take a leap of faith on her. And then Ileana Douglas won't read, So she wanted to talk to me on the phone because she was in New York or something. I wanted to meet her in person. And I knew who she was, of course, and, liked her, thought she was very talented, but wasn't quite sold on hiring her. And so we had this long conversation, and she really got it. She was just very smart and very funny, and I liked her, and I just said, yeah, she can do it. But I didn't have any idea what she looked like at the time, like what her color her hair was, how long it was, how she dressed, and the wardrobe, the costume designer, Mary Zofries, the great Mary Zofries,
Legend.
had dressed her in this crazy outfit, and her hair was this as you see in the film, this bright orange sort of spiky thing, And I'm thinking, and she just shows up like 10 minutes before we're ready to go, and I had no chance to rehearse with her or meet with her before, and I didn't want to freak her out and say, "Is that your real hair?" You know, and take the chance that it was, or what? Maybe it's a wig. I didn't say anything. I probably would have changed it if I had the chance, but just as well, it was fine. And I don't know. She was terrific.
Hadn't she just flown in like the day before? Because I mean, I hadn't met her or anything. She
I
wasn't at
didn't-
the
I had
read-through and nothing. And then
zero rehearsal.
And then I didn't even see her in the trailer in the morning at all. I was on set and she showed up and I was like, I had heard, Mary told me something about like, oh yeah, she's got this, crazy look going on. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool, why not, And then I saw it. I did a little bit of like, whoa. I did a little bit of a double take a la Enid. I don't think, she was like, isn't it great? And I was like, yeah, it's really cool.
She pulled it off.
She did. She killed it.
Another thing I did, prepping, knowing I was going to talk to both of them on stage, my fiance and I did a bit of a Thora Birch retrospective, and it reminded us of how grateful we were to grow up with your work, it being around the same age. Films like Paradise, Hocus Pocus, Now and Then, going into American Beauty. I think you've always played young women who seemed at that time just very real, and they spoke very frankly, and they didn't conform to sort of the precocious or just kind of the cliched ways that women act. It's like the women you played were okay talking about sex or things that would be taboo, and they just felt so real. And Enid, I think Terry was talking with them all day. You said that the studios were like, well, we're worried Thor's going to be too beautiful for the role of Enid or something.
That was Dan.
Oh,
Cloud.
Daniel, yeah. But to me, I think it just looks like you just walked right off the page in the film. And can you just talk about where this character, how this character stands apart from others in your career? And as Terry told me as well, how difficult it was to sort of let go of the character after playing.
Yeah, that's it was one of the, a lot of my characters, especially my younger roles, there were a lot of similarities. As a young actor, you haven't been through any master class or anything like that, so they look for just people who are naturally kind of what they're looking for. And so I fit that role in different, as you said, trying to be a grounded actor and not really hamming it up and all of that. And but the thing was with this particular character, and at that time in my life, I was only 18 when we shot it, and I had just come off another moody kind of role with American Beauty, and this one was more in the comedy world, which I responded to. And as I said, everything on the page were just things that I had to say and all of that. But the thing is that while filming and in the process of developing a friendship with Scarlett and working with Dan and Terry, and I got so in the mindset of Enid that I couldn't, when we wrapped and everything, I couldn't shake it loose. She had just infested my actual life to the point where my own personal friendships were suffering, and I felt more awkward and isolated. But even at a time when I had to go out and like do red carpet and events and stuff, like photo shoots and all that stuff. So I myself personally was kind of just like wanting to hide out and didn't really even know what my thought process was about how my life was at that point. And so it took me, I would honestly, at the end of the day, I'd have to say probably about a year, maybe a little bit more, to fully rediscover my own personality that wasn't like Thora Birch, but was my authentic self. It just took a while.
You have me to thank for ruining your life.
Absolutely, it's all your fault.
The question I have for you.
That's why I came here tonight, to inform you of that, by the way.
The question I have for you, which is the main thing that I was sweating about directing, was how she had to form this really close bond with Rebecca, and there was no rehearsal time. They were going to have like a day before we started shooting, and I'm thinking, how are they going to do this? Scarlett Johansson's 15 years old in the film. She just turned 18. And I don't, to this day, you guys.
I don't know. It just naturally fell
like
into place.
this,
It
like,
naturally
right
fell
away.
into place. I mean, we had a couple of hour long conversations just like that, and she she was, she came from New York and I was an LA kid, and she was already more socially advanced than I was in a manner of respects. And I had more of like an Enid sensibility to myself, is particularly in the realm of comedy, because I grew up listening to Lenny Bruce alone in my room as a young kid, and so she had a certain kind of hep quality, and me, having acted since I was 4, had a different kind of thing, and we clicked on that. And also we knew that we were there to do the job and that we had to be these best friends. So we just kind of, I don't know if it was conscious, but we just naturally kind of, bonded and took it to that like young woman physical level where you guys hold hands and you're hugging, and we just naturally fell into it. A, because we had to, and B, because we really genuinely developed a bond.
You guys were both very funny and sarcastic. I remember right away.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I think we were taking a tip from the tone of the film, and also working along Terry and Dan. I mean, they're, like I said before, they're very hilarious, and when they're together, just the way they naturally see things and talk about things. It's not that they're sitting around telling jokes. It's just that.
Oh no, we didn't do that.
It's just that the way that their
very
dry,
hard.
sardonic kind of thing was like right up our alley, and it always will be up my alley. So
We had a lot of fun on that film. I've never had
we
so
laughed
much
a
fun on
lot,
a
too
film. We
much,
all
too
laughed.
much. Yeah.
There is one day when you and Scarlett took me to a restaurant and to a private room in the back, and there was belly dancers. And we
Moons
had
of
to sit on the
Tunis.
floor.
Moons of Tunis,
And
the Moroccan.
somebody spiked my drink with LSD or at least something.
That was Dan, or maybe Scarlett. I don't
Dan
know.
wasn't there. Dan was not
You
there.
didn't go to that?
No.
I thought he was at the Moon.
No, he was not there, no.
Oh, okay. all
And
right.
I
the
was-
sushi place.
No, that was the sushi place. No, I was out of my mind. You don't know anything about that?
I
To
mean, I
this
remember
day,
you
I
got
do
a little
not know.
loopy, but I just thought
I
you had a
was
little wine or
really
something, I don't know.
Yeah.
You were tripping out at the dance. I do remember that. I was like, oh, that's quite a reaction there.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and disagree with the critic we heard prior to this, read by Mr. Gottfried, and say that I think the ending is pretty damn perfect in this film, but
Well, Steve added that little postscript that you see there. He directed that secretly when I wasn't around as a surprise for me, and I loved it so much I put it at the end of the film.
yes. But I have like a whole list of prompts of things we could discuss that I've already discussed with Terry, but one was the alternate endings. First of all, an ending that the studio, I believe, was pushing, this idea of a double wedding of some kind.
I can't blame United Artists
Yeah,
for that. It was
yeah.
every place we pitched the film, trying to set it up, wanted to see some sort of, Hollywood ending, and whether it's a double wedding or
How does that work? I was
Enid-
asking Thor, how does that work?
Or Enid gets on the
doesn't. It
bus and
doesn't
goes
work.
to college, and I said, but she's not going to college. And, they all wanted things neatly wrapped up, and I just wanted something that was a little bit more poetic, like a short story instead of, just some hack film, I don't know.
Absolutely.
It wasn't an Adam Sandler comedy, for God's sake.
Yeah, that's right.
And then they tested the film, and the film tested so badly that United Artists left me completely alone. They just released it in a couple theaters. And it was actually just starting to catch on, and then 9/11 happened, and that was it.
It was that, and then also, it was just like, I think, for me personally, when I first saw the film, and Terry, I love the movie, you know that. But when I first saw it, my headspace was like, oh, shit. I'm never working again. It's just so freaking dull, man.
Many people agree with you.
and then we Seattle Film Festival, and they loved it. They really got it, and we took it there. And I was just going just to hang out with Terry and Dan and premiere the movie at the Seattle Film Festival. I'm like, okay, great. And then I left. I went back to LA, and then the next day I get a call, and they're like, "Oh, the film just won some awards, and you won some award, and could you fly back?" And I'm like, "Well, no, but thank you, and I want to." But and then more from there, it just kind of built the critical awareness, and the attention really, really built. And eventually, we did have a nice little life in the DVD market, which was quite prolific at the time. So. Could have they released it wider at some point? Maybe, who knows? But hey, we're here tonight, so that's it. That's that.
I had a different ending originally for the film that I told you about earlier, where I told Gilbert Gottfried about it because I knew he'd appreciate it, which he did, of course. I said I originally had Seymour, I wrote Seymour to move back into his mother's basement and hang himself.
There's your alternate ending.
Gilbert immediately perked up and said, I would have loved that film. Never complimented this film or any other film I've ever done, but he liked that. And I said, I would have liked it better too, but Dan was really sort of wisely, slowly talked me down from that ledge. And, you know, we did what we did.
Yeah. There was also, at the end of that Gilbert podcast, you mentioned a Lawrence Turney story. Is this involving Ghost World, or is, oh yeah, I'd like to, yeah, why don't
I'll try to tell it quick.
Okay.
Do you guys know who Lawrence Turney is? He was like a really tough guy actor going way back to the 30s. He was in Born to Lose and a lot of great films, Dillinger, but like the toughest of tough guys. And in real life he's in Reservoir Dogs. You probably know him from that. And I needed a guy for the porno shop to be like the cashier, and I just envisioned this gruff old guy, and I thought, yeah, Lawrence Turney. He'd be good. And he had done something similar on Seinfeld, so I thought, yeah, be fine. And so my producer said, you're not hiring Lawrence Turney. I said, you don't even know who Lawrence Turney is? She said, yes, I do. I have a restraining order against him. She said, I will not be there when he comes into audition for you. I said, all right, I'm going to audition him. So he comes in, and Dan wanted to meet him, so Dan showed up. And we had a little casting office, and we're sitting around waiting for him. And he comes in, he had a chaperone, his nephew. And I go up to him, he's sitting down, and he was like in his 80s at that point, and I said, Mr. Turney, I'm a big fan, I've seen all your films, Devil Thumbs a Ride, Born to Lose, and I shook his hand, and he grabbed my hand, he pulled my face, he pulled me right up to this close to his face, like an inch away, and he just glared at me, and he had blood trickling out of one nostril. And he still, at that age, was a really intimidating guy, really a scary guy. I later went on to learn that he actually loved to get into fights with cops and, like, break people's legs. He loved to brawl, and he was just out of his mind, So he's there, and I said, well, okay, let's go in the other room. And I wanted, okay, here's Dan, and he helped write this, and it's all his thing, not mine. I have nothing to do with this. And Dan just started giggling in the corner because he knew things were going south in a hurry. And Turney looked over at him and said, what are you laughing at, funny boy? And Dan just ran out of the room. So I'm left alone. The casting director left. She was scared of him. So I said, all right, listen, let's just run the lines. I'll run it with you. So I take the sides, I give him the sides. He has no reading glasses. I give him my reading glasses. These don't work. Fucking, he throws them on the floor. He says, I need a brighter lamp. I can't see. Then I had to blow up the sides. He couldn't see them. We had to run to get a Xerox machine. I sent somebody out to blow them up so he could read them. And he finally starts reading this, and he turns to me and says, why is this funny? This isn't fucking funny. And I said, well, you see, and I try to explain it. It was just, at that point I knew, I just wanted to get the hell out of there. So he didn't get hired, but I later ran. If you really want to hear some great stories about him, you should, Tarantino he told me 4 hours of stories once standing up. And he did until my wife dragged me away from him. I wanted to hear more. But he's got the stories.
One of my favorite scenes in the film is when Enid listens to that record again and again, and it's a beautifully acted moment. I'd love to ask kind of what the significance of that moment to you, or why that was a special moment, and then also the story behind the record. I'll ask you after that.
Well, I had heard the record a little bit. Terry sent it to me, or I heard it before shooting, a week or so before that. And when I first heard it, I remember I cried a little bit, and I was like, okay, I can't listen to this too much because I got to do the scene. I got to hold on to it, And then so we were doing that. I didn't know that it was just going to be like a one-shot kind of thing, which I think is a fantastic choice, the only way to do it. But I was psyching myself up for all this other stuff, and then so once I realized that I could just relax a little bit, I just kicked it and listened to the song, and we shot it more than we had to because we all loved the song so much.
Yeah, we all loved it except the grip.
Right.
The guy said, if you stop playing this song, I'll pay you $50. Thanks for enhancing the mood for my actress.
Nobody could have ruined that for me. I was so in it. I was so depressed and messed up at that point. It wasn't even funny.
My goal. That's my goal. Let me tell you an interesting story about that record. 3 weeks ago, that record sold for $99,000.
Wow.
The highest price a record has ever sold for in history is 78 RPM blues record, or jazz record, or any 78. The highest price up till then was about $35,000 for a rare jazz record of King Oliver. And I don't know who bought it. I do know who sold it, but he doesn't want his name publicized. And there's only like 3 or 4 known copies, I think. But this copy was really in bad shape. It's like, you know, maybe a 4 out of 10 or something. To you laymen, to not describe it as VV minus with edge scuffing or whatever.
Oh, God.
But I learned a lesson from that, and the lesson is, note to self, if you ever make another movie and put something in it like that that you feature in an iconic way, make sure you have a copy of it. I did not. We mocked up that label, and I used it off a CD that a friend of mine had remastered. So I don't own the original of that. And I'm sure that Geeshie Wiley record I used in Crumb is probably worth like $100,000 now too. Because I talked to the seller, I said, "Why did it bring so much money?" He said, "Oh, Ghost World." I said, "Jesus Christ, it's more than my salary for the film. Come on."
And I think it's one of my favorite opening credit sequences in movies with that incredible dance sequence. And I wonder if that was an enjoyable moment for you to act that out, and then also just even discovering that moment.
Okay, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, this guy. But then I kept watching it, and I was like, then I was really struck by the moves, and like how she was, and her, and like the brilliance of the dancers or whatever, and I was just like, okay, I can hang my hat on that. And Enid likes this a lot. She's into this kind of stuff, so you're into this kind of stuff, and that's that. And so I practiced in the mirror a bunch of times, and then by the day before we were about to shoot it, I was like, I wasn't feeling fully confident because I hadn't like mastered it, exactly. But and I think I mentioned something like that to Terry. I was like, listen, Terry, I worked on this, but I don't know, I might look like a nut, He goes like, that's good. That's good.
That's good.
Just
You're
do it however
practicing
you do it. Do however you feels right to you. And so I had a lot of fun shooting that scene. Yeah.
Was that footage something that you were aware of for some time, or was that how was that sort of found?
When I first met Klaus, that day I first went over to meet him, we were just goofing around, and he was playing me he was showing me his collection of paperback book covers of lurid, over-the-top covers from the 50s, and these great LP covers and stuff. And then he had a gag videotape of preachers farting and weird television commercials. And there was about 30 seconds of that on there, that dance number. And I said, "What is this?" And I just sat up. And he said, "I don't know. It's from some Indian film or something. I don't know." And I said, "We've got to use this in the film." And he looked at me like I was completely insane. I just was obsessive about it. And we argued, and he just said, "Let's just write it, and it's never going to fit, but whatever," and humored me. And I finally made it fit in. I completely changed the opening, the way we had written it, to accommodate it. But I had to have it. The music to me is very important in a film. So.
Well, now whenever you hear it, though, I think you're always just going to think of Ghost. I mean, of course, we're always going to think of Ghost World, but anybody else who watches the movie, once you hear that in connection with the whole, it sets the movie up so perfectly.
The producers of that film were so generous to us. They flew it over from India, the original negative, and gave it to us for free to use. And otherwise, we were stuck with this 8th generation VHS tape, which never would have worked at all.
It's amazing. And there's a wonderful Criterion edition of the film. I think you get even some more footage from that. I'm just looking to see when we're open for questions. It'll be very soon. There's another name you mentioned to me, Gary Shandling. There's a Gary Shandling story. Is that also?
There were a lot of people that appeared in the casting office without me being warned about it. I had discussed with Cassandra, who did casting, and my producer, who I was thinking of for certain parts. And for the part of Seymour, Steve Buscemi was always on that list. And they said, well, just see other people as well. And sometimes they would just like bring in somebody I'd never heard of and I just thought like, yeah, okay, whatever. And thinking, be interesting to meet these people. And one day Gary Shandling showed up and I was not familiar with his show. I'd seen him do stand-up on like Johnny Carson or something, or one of those shows. And he was so funny in person. And he just kept telling me, I got to do a film with you, but this is not the one. I'm thinking, dude, no, I'm not hiring you yet, guy. I got to hire you first. But no, I loved him, and he was so sweet to me and kept in touch and sent me little tips and stuff about mental health that I needed. And another guy who came in actually who was William Hurt. Did you know that?
I had heard that.
You
Yeah,
heard
yeah.
that?
I was like, okay, that makes
One day
sense.
I was just like sitting there having lunch and William Hurt walks in. And he was big at the time. He had just done like Kiss of the Spider Woman, right? And he said, I just slept in my car outside on the street outside the casting building because I wanted to be sure to get here on time. So I slept here all night. And I said, okay, nice to meet you. And I'm just having a turkey sandwich. Would you like half? And we just sort of sat around for an uncomfortable hour. And I didn't know what to ask him. I didn't think he was right for the part. I thought like him and like this 18-year-old girl would just be not right. I don't know. You just had to, you couldn't cast somebody, not that he's like the manliest of men, but you really couldn't cast somebody like Russell Crowe or somebody in the part, some He-Man tough guy, because then it's just going to look like child molestation. But, Steve Buscemi had this, he wasn't that old. He was like in his early 40s then.
No, I'm not going to comment.
But he was a very boyish guy and very likable, and you just got the sense of decency when you looked at him and when you got to know him. He's like the greatest guy in the
Oh
world.
my God, so sweet. And
So
also like super
sweet.
cool. I mean, he shows up at the set with his shades on and his jean jacket and he's like, yeah, I was a fireman and it's like,
And
all
I
right,
said, and
cool.
Steve, the bad news
Not
is you have
like
to dress
Seymour
like me.
at all, Because
Right.
I remember the first day he came on the set, because we had already been working for like 4 days or 5 days or something like that. He came on the set, he comes up to me and he goes like, he didn't ask me too much, but he comes up and he goes, so what's Terry like? He seems a little, I was like, yeah, he's like, okay, that's cool. How's it been going? Yeah, it's going. Yeah. Okay, and that was that.
He hadn't shot a scene yet at that
Not
point?
yet,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no.
Yeah, no, he was a little miffed at his wardrobe that he had to dress like me, and I didn't intend that to happen, in all honesty. Mary Zofries came to me and said, how should we dress Seymour? And I said, well, I don't want him dressed like a nerd or a geek or a dork. I want him dressed normal. And that's all I told her, and she said, well, his normal is how he dresses, so. Thora, I wore this shirt.
I recognized it immediately when I saw you.
Two of these shirts, and I wore it almost every day in Ghost Story. It was my lucky shirt. One or
It
the
was
other.
his
So I
lucky
wore
shirt.
it in her honor.
We wore like
tonight.
3 things the whole time we made the movie.
Right.
That's amazing. Well, I've gotten so spoiled talking to you both all day. Let's open up for some questions. Let's see. I'm sure we have the microphones out and everything. So this is the Ghost World shirt you're wearing for us. That is
I'll
pretty
auction
amazing.
it off later.
Let's do
Wait, don't leave yet. I haven't got to the dirty stuff.
We're gonna
Running for the exits.
Got a question to your far left on the floor here.
Okay. Can you explain the title, how it relates to the film? I didn't see that in the film.
We originally filmed the title spray painted as graffiti like it is in the comic, and Rebecca and Enid walked by it. I know it's supposed to be a little bit poetic. I never nailed Dan down on why he named the comic that. I don't know. I just said, yeah, it sort of works.
I was kind of took it as that it was representative of how Enid felt that she was living, like that's like she was living in a ghost world. Like maybe none of this is even real, Like I think that's how I took it, but that's just me.
My intention was more to push the film as this cultural, social, economic commentary and critique, like the Nazi pointed out that how brilliant, She goes to shop at, Target or whatever he said, I don't know.
Crate and Barrel.
But that was a lot of it was like social commentary, and so the ghost world was that this corporate consumer culture had sort of taken over the country, and these girls growing up had really nothing authentic to connect with. So I didn't see it as like a spooky sort of spiritual thing so much as a dilemma, in real life. What do I connect with in this culture of crap, Exactly.
You did get the Spielberg comparison in that review, though. That was one nice.
It's another Israeli director, yes.
To your right, on the floor.
Just a random question. Was that Will Forte in the porno shop scene?
I wish. No, it wasn't. I love Will Forte. The only thing I can claim in hindsight as genius on my part in the entire film is the casting of the high school principal who had come in. You have a different casting person for extras casting, and they say, okay, what kind of extras do you want? We'll get 30 of them down here of the type you want. I said, well, sort of, like really conservative, older, politician type of guy who looks like a senator, but a little creepy, And they let me pick out some guys, and I picked this one guy for the principal. I thought, yeah, he's sort of perfect. And then 2 weeks later, we had another batch of extras that I had to cast for the customers in the porno shop. And that guy was mixed in with the extras, and I didn't recognize him. And I picked him again. So the high school principal is actually in the porno shop, which is the greatest.
That works.
First aisle to your left on the floor here.
I think one of the most iconic parts of the movie is the wardrobe and all the different fashions. And so, Thor, I was just wondering if you and Scarlett, had fun with all the different outfits, or if there was anything that you guys had in terms of input for all of the different outfits that you guys were wearing.
Absolutely. No, that was a lot of fun. And the interesting thing, well, first of all, our costume designer, Mary Zofries, is legendary. She's worked with the best of the best, and she's fantastic. She's got a great eye. And when I first met her for our initial fitting, she was very much approaching it from the angle of the graphic novel and taking the kind of look from that. But then she had this kind of idea that I fell for hook, line, and sinker, which was, let's push it a little bit. Let's make her a little bit more into a wide variety of looks and colors and patterns. And so honestly, Rebecca's wardrobe kind of wound up being a little bit more like Enid's wardrobe in the graphic novel. But I went for, because so much of what I knew I would be doing as Enid was going to be pretty flat and deadpan, and it ran the risk of being a slightly one note. And so I wanted to do something else to convey, and I believe this is where Mary was coming from too, with this, to convey to the audience that Enid had a lot going on in her mind, and she did have this creative spirit where that she would hop from whatever this little old lady phase looked like to the kind of throwback 60s style, the dress, the key eye hole key dress and all of that. And some of that, I gotta say, like, I personally would, probably if I wasn't in the headspace of Enid, would be revolted by or never would have wore. But for me, it gave me another insight into how she saw things and her, at the end of the day, kind of open-mindedness, even though she came across as so judgy half the time. So it was just a way to round out the edges of her character, and also to kind of put myself on the spot, in the sense that I was slightly uncomfortable half the time because I didn't really like the outfit. I loved him for Enid, but I settled into this kind of like just perennially discontented kind of zone.
You put on a lot of weight for the
I
film,
did that too.
Yeah,
I
like
did that
25
too.
pounds or
I
something.
put on 20. I went a little further than I had intended to, but I was trying also to tell the audience really quickly that she's in that point in her life where a lot of kind of insecurities are hitting. And, it's kind of funny because you never really see her eat that much, but it kind of lends itself to maybe give the audience the impression that maybe she's like a night eater or something, which would be indicative of somebody who, and no offense to anybody at all, but like some people who suffer from depression and things like that becomes their outlet. And I thought maybe with her, there was a little bit of that going on.
I can speak from experience as I can't button my
Yeah,
belt.
I gained it all back during COVID, for sure.
To the right, to your right, back of the theater.
Sorry. Hi, this is a follow-up for Tara. What was your relationship with Scarlett, knowing that she's, was it 2-3 years younger than you at the time?
Yeah, well, like I mentioned earlier, she had come from New York and had been in the business for a while, and I started acting when I was 4. And, the roles were what they were. We didn't have a lot of time to rehearse and everything, but a couple of days before we started shooting, we would start talking on the phone to develop this rapport and everything, and we just clicked pretty quickly. She was a hep kid, I was some kind of way. And also we were just like, this is what it is, this is what we got to do. So we kind of adopted that type of relationship, and then about like 3 days later, it was at the status that it should have been for the movie anyway. We bonded really quickly and really closely.
First aisle to your left again on the floor.
So it's been 20 years since I've seen this film, and in my appreciation for anything that deals with the mundane and the absurd, one of my favorite things to look at and observe is actors eating, and Bob Balaban eating a jelly sandwich, preparing it, scraping it off one side to the other. This is good. Can you talk to me about little mundane
That's the
elements
greatest
like that?
question I've ever heard for this film. That is so astute. You have no idea. You have no idea how much I appreciated Balaban doing that.
He does.
No, if you watch like films by directors who are really good with actors, like Woody Allen, who probably everybody hates these days, but he's really good with actors, and they're always eating, It's always helpful for the performance. It just gives you this, I don't know, how would you call it, this physicality that you could incorporate into the dialogue, and you just say so much more with your body than just the words.
Because it's always when you take the bite, right? You say something clever, then you put the chip in your mouth.
Right, that's right. So it's the first thing when he did that, I wasn't really that aware of it, and then I thought, oh, that's a really good lesson. Thank you, Bob. He was very generous with me. He was a really sweet guy, too.
My favorite was when he comes in and he's got the pancake batter.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you want some pancakes? No, just get away from me.
David Cross throwing the chip in his mouth, it just comes right out like a bangerang. It's just, that's fantastic.
To your left.
Okay, I was waiting for someone else to ask it. Did anybody was not curious about where the buses went at the end? Where
The studio certainly was. The test audiences certainly was.
Okay. What happened?
There was a big test screening, the first one, and my producer Leanne Helfin, who was the greatest, my old friend, and she said, "Terry, you have to go to." I said, "I'm not going to a test screening." I had really bad experience with test screenings for Crumb, where everybody said, "Just cut Charles Crumb out of the film." Just awful advice, which gave me confidence in retrospect, thinking I was right. Fuck them. I'm not listening to anybody else. Trust your own gut, But she said, look, you just come, sit in the middle of the audience. They won't know that you're the director. And just, you'll feel the crowd and see where they pick it up and where they lose it, which, of course, I didn't at all. I can tell where they laugh and where they don't, and that's it. And then I got up, and I headed for the door as soon as right after the test, the film ends. They have a guy who jumps to the front of the room who's like this overly cheerful chiropractor type guy who's like, okay, what'd you like about this film? What should we start cutting? Did you like the music? Did you hate the music? Is it too long? Is it too short? I'm just like, I'm out of here. I don't want to know. And so I took the elevator down to the parking garage, and as I'm pressing the close door on the elevator, these two couples get in, and they didn't know each other. But the first couple started talking to each other, and they said, "That was the worst film I've ever seen. Could you imagine how boring that was?" And the second couple picked up on it. "Yes, could you?" And they didn't know each other. "Oh, it was horrible. Never seen a worse." Anyway, I drove home, and I was so depressed that I almost hung myself. Not really, but you know, if ever there was a night to do it. And Leanne sort of knew. She didn't, although she didn't witness that thing in the elevator, she sort of knew it didn't go too well, and she called me and sort of talked me off the ledge, so to speak. But the one thing, to my great surprise, that the test audiences loved was the music. And United Artists was just shocked, because they had, the one thing they did really want to suggest, they were very nice to me. Compared to the Weinsteins, they were like the greatest. And, but everybody that we pitched the film to wanted like a pop music soundtrack, like a, you know, for the teenage girls, pop music, this will be great, you know? And I just couldn't live with that, which is one of the reasons that I wrote this Seymour character into the film and had his old music, because this old music's gonna work for me. I just know enough of it where I can make, you know, get bits and pieces, and to my great surprise, that's the one thing they seem to like. I don't know about the ending, I don't know. We originally did have a different ending, I will say, and it was complicated. A lot of things went wrong. One of the things that went wrong was the production designer who played the Satanist. He shaved his head to play this Mr. Satanist. Confessed to me at one point halfway through the film that he was colorblind, because we had a big problem. We had, I don't know if you knew this or not, yeah, and we had a set that you guys had to revisit of your hangout, and it was supposed to be redecorated, but it was completely unrecognizable. And I said to him, I said, "You can't recognize it. At least like keep some of the same colors." He said, "I'm sorry, I'm colorblind."
Colorblind production
So,
designer.
but that isn't. I'm not blaming him why it didn't work out. There were many reasons it didn't work out.
He was great.
Yeah, he was great, and
He was a cool guy.
yeah, and. But it just, yeah, in editing, you just get to see what's starting to work and what isn't. And I think I really miscast Brad Renfro. I thought he was a really terrific actor, and he was somewhat miscast in this because he was naturally, at his essence, a very rambunctious, sort of outgoing guy. And, you know, it was just really hard to rein him in where you don't feel like you're just telling him to do nothing and just suffocating him, you know? I don't know. So. He was involved in a lot of the subplot that got cut out, because I just didn't think, I don't quite buy him, I don't know.
I don't know if he ever really felt that he had a strong handle on Josh.
Yeah,
You know?
I didn't either, but
Yeah.
I didn't know how to fix it at that point, yeah.
I do love when he drops the ice cream. That's one moment.
Yeah. No, he was a sweetheart.
Yeah.
And this will be the last question from your far left section of the floor over here. One more time.
Hi, there's so many great one-liners from the film. My personal favorite is it's clearly a 1977 punk look, but I was just wondering if you had any favorites or stories about some of them.
Oh, I got a couple. Yeah, my absolute favorite is not appropriate, but I'm just gonna let loose with it anyway. Fuck you, you stupid redneck hick. That's probably my favorite one. But give me all your money, bitch, is a good. It's almost a tie. So those, but then there are so many other great ones, too. I mean, like I said, that's the one thing that hooked me into the character and the script right off the bat. Was basically anything that she said. I just thought was like, yeah, that's pretty great. That's accurate.
Well, I just want to thank both of you for the gift of your work. This has been so wonderful. Everyone give a round of applause to
Thank you so much.
Terry Zweigoff,
Thank
Thora
you.
Birch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say one more thing.
Oh, yes. No.
To the guy that asked the Bob Balaban question, I usually bring a gift, a prize that I give to whoever asked the best question, and I didn't do it this time. I'm so sorry. If you give me your email, I'll mail you something.
That was mine.
What did he say?
He wants the golden thumb.
I didn't get it this year. She did. But give me your email. I'll send you a gift.
do it. Congratulations.